My name is Victoria Walsh. I'm 31 years old. 3 weeks ago, I stood in the ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton while my parents hosted my rehearsal dinner. 85 people filled the room. Family, friends, my fiancé Marcus's relatives, colleagues from both our careers. My father stood up to give a toast. He was slightly drunk, his face flushed from champagne. Many of you know that Victoria wasn't exactly planned. She was what we used to call a happy accident. He paused for laughter that didn't come. Well, not that happy if we're being honest. She came along and changed everything, set our lives back years. We call her the mistake in family jokes. 85 witnesses heard my father call me a mistake at my own rehearsal dinner. My mother laughed nervously. He's joking, of course, but Victoria did arrive at an inconvenient time. I had to give up so much. Meanwhile, when we actually planned for a child, when we had your sister Isabel 4 years later, well, that's when we became real parents. But what they didn't know was that my 78-year-old grandmother, sitting quietly in the corner, had been holding a secret for 32 years. And what my parents really didn't know was that when Grandma stood up to give her own toast, she would reveal exactly who the real mistake was, and it would end their marriage before dessert was even served. Before I tell you what happened that night, please like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this story. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it? I love connecting with you all. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. Growing up in Austin, Texas, I learned early that I was the child who ruined everything. My family consisted of my father, who owned a successful commercial real estate company, my mother, who'd been an aspiring actress before I was born, my younger sister Isabel, who was planned and perfect, and me, the accident who'd destroyed my mother's dreams. Isabel brought home joy. I brought home resentment. When I was 10, I won the state spelling bee, beat 200 other kids, made it all the way to the national competition in Washington, D.C., where I placed 7th in the entire country. I came home so proud, already imagining how excited my parents would be. My mother barely looked at the trophy. "That's nice, Victoria. Did you clean your room like I asked?" That same week, Isabel got cast as a background dancer in a local production of The Nutcracker. Literally a background role. One of 20 children who stood on stage. My parents threw a celebration party, invited 50 people, rented a private room at a restaurant. My mother spent 2 hours showing everyone photos from Isabel's costume fitting. I told myself it made sense. Dance was creative and special. Spelling was just academics. At 16, I got accepted to a prestigious summer program at MIT for advanced science students. Only 50 students selected nationwide from over 2,000 applicants. Full scholarship, housing included, an incredible opportunity. My parents came to my high school awards ceremony, but left during the presentation. Isabel had auditioned for a commercial, and they wanted to be there when she got the call back. She didn't get the call back, but they'd still missed my award. They gave me a card that said, "Congratulations," with no personal message inside. 2 years earlier, when Isabel had won Most Improved in her dance class, a participation trophy essentially, they'd bought her a $3,000 trip to New York to see Broadway shows. I told myself it was different. Isabel was younger. She needed more encouragement. At 22, I graduated from Stanford with a degree in biomedical engineering, summa cum laude. I'd been recruited by 3 major medical device companies and had already published 2 research papers. My parents came to graduation, but spent the entire ceremony texting Isabel about her latest audition. They gave me $200 and a lecture about how I should have gone to UT Austin instead. Stanford was so expensive, Victoria. Such an impractical choice when you could have stayed close to home. I'd gone to Stanford on a full academic scholarship. It hadn't cost them a penny. Meanwhile, Isabel had dropped out of community college after 1 semester to pursue acting full-time. My parents were fully supporting her, paying her rent, her acting classes, her headshots, everything. Approximately $40,000 a year. I told myself it was fine. Isabel was following her passion. I had a career. Over the next 9 years, I built that career. Worked for a medical device startup that developed innovative cardiac monitoring technology. Started as a junior engineer, worked my way up to director of product development. Made $180,000 a year plus stock options. I bought my own house in Seattle. Traveled. Lived independently. Meanwhile, Isabel was still pursuing acting. She'd had a few small roles, a commercial here, a background part there. Nothing substantial. She was 27 years old, still living off our parents' money, still waiting for her big break. My parents supported her completely. Isabel is special, my mother would say. She has a gift. Not everyone can be practical and boring like you, Victoria. Boring. That's what my career was to them. Boring. Every family gathering was the same. Hours of conversation about Isabel's latest audition, her acting class, her new headshots. 5 minutes of polite questions about my work that they didn't understand or care about. I was the successful one, but Isabel was the loved one. Then, 18 months ago, I met Marcus at a medical technology conference. He was a cardiac surgeon, brilliant and kind and genuinely interested in my work. We talked for 4 hours about innovation in cardiac care. He saw me, really saw me, not as the mistake or the boring one, as someone brilliant and valuable and worth listening to. We fell in love. It was easy and natural and right. When I told my parents about him, my mother's first question was, "Is he rich?" "He's a cardiac surgeon. He does well." "Good, because you're not getting any younger, Victoria. You should lock this down before he realizes he can do better." I stopped talking to them about Marcus after that. 6 months ago, Marcus proposed. Beautiful moment at Cary Park overlooking the Seattle skyline. Simple platinum ring with a sapphire, my favorite stone, not a diamond, because he actually listened when I talked about what I liked. When I told my parents, my mother's response was, "Finally, we were worried you'd end up alone. You're not exactly easy to love." My father added, "Make sure you get a prenup. Men like him usually figure out what they're getting into eventually." I almost didn't invite them to the wedding, but Marcus encouraged me to try one more time. They're your parents. Maybe when they see how happy we are, they'll change. Sweet, optimistic Marcus. He didn't understand families like mine. We planned the wedding for December in Austin, Marcus's choice, because he thought being close to my family would make them feel more included. The rehearsal dinner would be at the Ritz-Carlton, hosted by my parents as tradition dictated. My mother took over planning immediately. Not to help, to control. She picked the menu, the flowers, the decorations. Everything elegant and expensive. "We want people to see that we raised you right," she said, "even if you were unplanned." She said it like a joke, but it wasn't. The guest list grew to 85 people. My parents invited their friends, business associates, people I barely knew. Making it about them, not about me and Marcus. My grandmother, my father's mother, who lived in a retirement community in Houston, called me 2 weeks before the wedding. "Victoria, I need to talk to you about something important. Not over the phone. I'll come early for the rehearsal dinner." "Grandma, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, sweetheart, but there's something you should know. Something I should have told you years ago." She paused. "Your parents aren't who you think they are." "What does that mean?" "You'll understand soon. Just know that I love you. I've always loved you. And I'm sorry I waited so long." She wouldn't say more. Grandma arrived in Austin 3 days before the wedding. She stayed at my hotel, not with my parents. "I can't stand to be in that house," she said. "Too many lies." "Grandma, what are you talking about?" "At the rehearsal dinner. I'll explain everything at the rehearsal dinner, in front of everyone. Your parents have had 32 years to tell the truth. They chose not to. So I will." The rehearsal dinner arrived. The Ritz ballroom was decorated beautifully. White flowers, crystal, candlelight. 85 people in formal attire. My parents were in their element, playing the successful couple, the proud parents, the gracious hosts. Marcus and I sat at the head table with our wedding party. My maid of honor was my best friend from Stanford, Sarah. My bridesmaids were colleagues and friends I'd made in Seattle. Isabel was a bridesmaid only because my mother had insisted. She'd complained about the dress, the color, the fitting schedule. "This is so inconvenient, Victoria. I have auditions." The dinner was served. Expensive steaks, fine wine, everything perfect. Then came the toasts. Marcus's father went first. Sweet, heartfelt, welcoming me into their family. "Marcus has never been happier. Victoria, you're exactly the partner he needed. We're blessed to have you." I cried, because that's what I'd always wanted to hear from my own parents. Then my father stood up, already drunk, glass of champagne in hand. "Many of you know that Victoria wasn't exactly planned," he began. "She was what we used to call a happy accident." A few uncomfortable laughs. Well, not that happy if we're being honest. She came along and changed everything, set our lives back years. Jennifer had just gotten her big break, a callback for a major film role. Then Victoria happened, and that was that. Career over, dreams over. My mother nodded sadly. "We call her the mistake in our family. Just jokes, of course, but there's truth in every joke, right?" He raised his glass. But despite being unplanned and inconvenient, Victoria turned out adequate. She's got a good job and now she's marrying this doctor, so at least someone sees value in her. The room was silent, people staring at their plates. Marcus's hand found mine under the table, squeezed tight. My mother stood up next. "What David's trying to say is that Victoria arrived at a difficult time. I had to sacrifice so much. My career, my body, my youth. Everything changed when she was born. But then," she continued with a smile, "we had Isabel, and that was different. Isabel was planned, wanted. We were ready. That's when we learned what it meant to be real parents, to love a child we'd chosen to have." Isabel was crying. Whether from shame or something else, I couldn't tell. "So here's to Victoria," my mother finished. "May Marcus have better luck with her than we did. At least he chose her voluntarily." She sat down. The silence was deafening. 85 people had just witnessed my parents tell me I was unwanted at my own rehearsal dinner. Marcus started to stand, his face furious. But my grandmother was faster. At 78, she moved slowly. But when she stood up, every eye went to her. She commanded the room in a way my parents never could. "I have something to say," Grandma announced. Her voice was clear and strong. My father looked nervous. "Mom, maybe we should—" "Sit down, David." He sat. Grandma looked around the room. "I've listened to David and Jennifer call Victoria the mistake for 32 years. I've watched them favor Isabel, neglect Victoria, and convince this brilliant young woman that she's somehow less valuable because she was unplanned." She paused. "But there are some things Victoria doesn't know. Things I think she, and all of you, should hear." My mother had gone pale. "Please don't." "Jennifer wasn't getting callbacks for major film roles 32 years ago," Grandma said clearly. "She'd been working as a waitress at a Denny's for 3 years. No acting jobs, no auditions, no career to sacrifice. That's a lie she's told for so long she started to believe it." Murmurs around the room. "And David," Grandma continued, looking at my father, "wasn't set back by Victoria's birth. He was fired from his job for embezzlement 3 months before she was born. He spent 2 years unemployed while his own father, my husband, bailed him out and gave him the seed money to start the real estate company." My father's face was bright red. "You blamed Victoria for failures that had nothing to do with her," Grandma said. "A baby didn't ruin your careers. You ruined your own lives through your own poor choices." She wasn't done. "But there's more." Grandma pulled an envelope from her purse. 4 years after Victoria was born, you decided to have another child. You've spent 30 years telling everyone that Isabel was planned, wanted, the real child you chose. She looked directly at my parents. Isabel, sweetheart, I'm sorry you have to learn this like this, but your parents have been lying to you too. Isabel looked terrified. What do you mean? David, Grandma said coldly, isn't your biological father. The room erupted. Gasps, shocked exclamations, people turning to stare at my parents. My mother burst into tears. How did you? I've known for 27 years, Grandma said. Since Isabel was born and I saw her. Since I noticed she looked nothing like my son or anyone in our family. Since I confronted Jennifer and she admitted the truth. She pulled documents from the envelope. I hired a private investigator 27 years ago. Got proof. Jennifer had an affair with a director she met at an acting workshop. She got pregnant. She convinced David the baby was his. And David, desperate to have a perfect child to make up for Victoria, the child he blamed for all his problems, accepted it without question. My father was shaking. You knew? For 27 years, you knew? I knew. I kept quiet because I didn't want to hurt Isabel. But I'm done protecting you two from your own lies. Grandma turned to the room. So when they tell you that Isabel was the planned, wanted child, and Victoria was the mistake, understand what they're really saying. They're saying they built their entire marriage on a lie. They're saying they've spent 3 decades scapegoating an innocent child for their own failures. She looked at me. Victoria, you are not a mistake. You never were. You're brilliant and successful and kind, despite being raised by people who couldn't see your value. Your degrees from Stanford, your career, your accomplishments, you did all of that with no support from them. You're extraordinary. Tears were streaming down my face. Isabel, Grandma continued, her voice softening, you're not a mistake either, but you deserve to know the truth. Your father isn't David. His name is Richard Martinez. He's a theater director in Los Angeles. He's never known about you because Jennifer never told him. Isabel was sobbing now. My whole life is a lie? Your parents' life is a lie, Grandma corrected. You're just a person who deserves better. She turned back to my parents. David, Jennifer, I'm done watching you destroy these girls with your dysfunction. Victoria has built a beautiful life despite you. Isabel deserves the chance to do the same. She set the documents on the table. These are the paternity test results, the PI reports, the affair timeline, everything. Because if there's one thing I've learned in 78 years, it's that secrets like this always come out. Better to air them now than let them poison another generation. My father stood up, his face purple with rage. You had no right. I had every right. I'm the grandmother who watched you abuse Victoria emotionally for 32 years, while you elevated the child who wasn't even yours. Someone had to stop this. My mother was crying hysterically. This is private. Family business! You made it public when you called Victoria a mistake in front of 85 people, Grandma said coldly. You want to humiliate her? Fine. But you don't get to hide your own lies while you do it. Marcus's mother stood up. I think we should all take a break. This is a lot to process. But people were already leaving, whispering, staring at my parents with a mixture of shock and disgust. Isabel ran out of the room, sobbing. My father turned to me, his face desperate. Victoria, please, don't let her do this. Don't let her destroy our family. You destroyed this family, I said quietly. 32 years ago, when you decided I was the problem instead of taking responsibility for your own failures. We didn't mean you called me a mistake. At my rehearsal dinner, in front of everyone I care about. You told my future husband that he was unlucky to be marrying me. My voice was shaking but clear. You spent my entire life making me feel worthless, and now I know why. Because you needed someone to blame for your own inadequacy. My mother reached for me. Victoria, we love you. No, you don't. You resent me. You always have. And you poured all your love into Isabel to make up for it. Except she wasn't even Dad's child. Your perfect family was built on adultery and lies. I turned to Grandma. Thank you, for telling the truth, for seeing me when they couldn't. She hugged me tight. I should have done it years ago. I'm sorry I waited. Marcus and I left the rehearsal dinner early. His family followed us out, offering support and kindness. Behind us, I could hear my parents arguing. 32 years of resentment and lies finally exploding. We got married 2 days later. Small ceremony, just 20 people. Marcus's family, my grandmother, Sarah, and a few close friends. My parents weren't invited. Neither was Isabel. It was the most beautiful day of my life. No one called me a mistake. No one made me feel small. Just love and celebration and joy. That was 3 weeks ago. My parents are getting divorced. My father filed for dissolution of marriage the day after the rehearsal dinner, citing adultery and fraud. My mother is fighting it, but the evidence Grandma provided is ironclad. Isabel called me once. Did you know about the affair? No, I just found out like you did. My whole life is a lie, Victoria. Everything I thought I knew about who I am. You're still you, I said gently. You're still Isabel. You just have different biology than you thought. That doesn't change who you are. Mom used me to make you feel worthless, used me to cover up her affair. Yeah, she did. I'm sorry. For everything. For being part of it. For accepting their favoritism. For not defending you. She was crying. You're my sister. You've always been my sister. And I let them treat you like garbage. It wasn't your fault. You were a kid. I'm 27 years old. I stopped being a kid a long time ago. I should have stood up for you. We talked for an hour. It was the first real conversation we'd had in years. She's in therapy now, working through the revelation about her father. She reached out to Richard Martinez, her biological father. He was shocked but open to meeting her. He seems nice, she told me last week. He's nothing like Dad. David, I mean. God, I don't even know what to call him anymore. Call him whatever feels right. She paused. Did you mean it? That I'm still your sister? Of course. We didn't choose our parents. But we can choose our relationship. Grandma moved to Seattle to be closer to me and Marcus. I've spent too many years in Texas surrounded by liars, she said. Time to be near family that actually appreciates me. She has dinner with us every Sunday, tells stories about my grandfather, about my father before he became bitter, about the family history my parents never shared. You look like my mother, she told me once. Your great-grandmother. She was brilliant too. Went to college in the 1940s when most women didn't. Became a teacher. Very independent. Your father never appreciated that side of the family. He wanted a different story. I'm learning who I really am. Not the mistake. Not the unwanted child. Just Victoria. A woman with her own value, her own accomplishments, her own life. People ask if I'll reconcile with my parents, if family isn't worth preserving, if airing their secrets publicly was too cruel. And here's what I know. My parents spent 32 years calling me a mistake to deflect from their own failures. They built their entire identity around a lie, that Isabel was the perfect child they'd planned, and I was the accident that ruined everything. But the truth was the opposite. I was the legitimate child they resented. Isabel was the product of an affair they covered up. They didn't just lie to me, they lied to everyone. And when Grandma exposed those lies, it wasn't cruelty, it was liberation. I'm 31 years old. I'm married to a man who loves me completely. I have a career I'm proud of. I have a grandmother who sees my worth. And I'm free. Free from the belief that I was a mistake. Free from the need for my parents' approval. Free from the lies that shaped my entire childhood. If you're reading this and your family makes you feel unwanted, please know, you are not the mistake. Their inability to love you is the mistake. Build your life anyway. Succeed anyway. Find people who see your value. And when the truth comes out, because it always does, don't be afraid of it. Truth is scary, but it's also freeing. Thank you for reading my story. If it resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment. Have you ever been made to feel like a mistake? How did you reclaim your worth? I'd love to hear from you. You were never the problem. You were never the mistake. And someday, the people who made you feel that way will realize what they lost. But by then, you won't need them anymore.